Gold hunting is no picnic. It's not like going on vacation, and it's certainly not a dainty hobby like knitting or embroidery. If you're looking for something that dull, then you've come to the wrong person. What I practice is a craft, a technique of disruption. When the aristocratic families of ancient times built their graves, they were intent on keeping looters out, and they employed countless mechanisms to achieve that goal. You find all types of snares in these tombs, giant boulders rolling right at you, quicksand, poisoned arrows, venomous insects, and trapdoors set over spike-filled pits. You get the idea. During the Ming Dynasty, when European technology reached China, newfangled Western equipment started putting in an appearance too, leading to some of the most intricate traps ever devised. In 1928, when the great warlord Sun Dianying wanted to break open the eastern tombs to use the treasures within to support his large army, it still took 6 days and a lot of explosives before he finally forced his way through. Can you imagine such a solid structure being built today? That's the mission of us gold hunters, breaking in with whatever means we have, dodging threats and lethal dangers until we get to the valuables buried alongside old-time nobility. Of course, in this day and age, the bigger problem is actually finding those graves. All the ones with obvious earth mounds or stone markers have long since been dug up, so we have to search for tombs that lie deeper beneath the surface of the earth, the ones with no trace left above ground. This requires a different set of skills, not to mention special tools like loyang shovels, deep U-shaped shovels, bamboo nails, soil-eating dragons. That said, there are some experts who shun such tools, preferring to look for clues within ancient documents. A small number have more esoteric knowledge, such as the ability to read the veins and arteries of hills and rivers and use the power of feng shui to locate these secret burial places. I belong to this select group. I've traveled to all sorts of places and experienced the most amazing things. If I were to list them one by one, your jaw would drop. You have no idea what mysteries lie in the ground beneath your feet, over seas and across rivers, past the earth and sky. I've forgotten what it means to be normal. It all started with a book my grandfather left me, or rather half a book. My grandfather gave me my name, Tianyi, which means, as the heavens intend. His name was Hu Guohua, and our family were once wealthy landowners, known for miles around. At their height, they had more than 40 houses on 3 adjacent alleyways and could count important ministers and merchants among their number. But as the saying goes, wealth never lasts past the 3rd generation. No amount of money can buy restraint on the part of your descendants. And so by the time my grandfather was born, the Hu clan was poor once more. My grandfather didn't exactly help matters by getting addicted to opium as soon as he was of age. His small inheritance was quickly gone. Never one to be deterred, my grandfather decided to squeeze a bit of cash out of his uncle. Now the uncle knew that Hu Guohua would only squander it away at the opium den and refused to help him at first. He only changed his mind when my grandfather said he needed a loan to get married. The old man was moved to tears that his nephew was finally going to make something of his life with a virtuous woman to get him back on track. He handed over 20 silver dollars, saying how delighted he was that Guohua was giving up his vices, and adding that as soon as he had some time to spare, he'd come to visit his new niece. You'd think this would stump my grandfather, but he was endlessly resourceful. As soon as he got home, he went to see the village paper craftsman who made all the sacrificial goods to be burned for the dead. This artisan was extraordinarily skilled. Whatever you asked him to make, houses, carriages, livestock, he'd come up with detailed and realistic versions conjured from nothing but paper. It was easy for him to fulfill Guohua's request. A silhouette cut from white paper, features and clothes added with watercolor paint. He was done in no time, and as long as you didn't get too close, it looked just like a living person. My grandfather brought his paper bride home and tucked her into bed. Taking a step back, he thought this should work. When his uncle came to visit, he'd just say his wife was too ill to receive visitors. The uncle wouldn't come past the front door, and from that distance, the deception couldn't fail. Happy to have solved the problem so easily, he went out to get some opium, humming cheerfully. A few weeks later, the uncle arrived with gifts for his nephew's new wife. Guohua met him at the door and said how sorry he was that his wife was unwell, raising the curtain a little to give his uncle a peek at the woman tucked up in bed. Instead of being satisfied, however, his uncle got annoyed and said that that was no way to treat a relative. He wanted to greet the new wife in person, and if she was very sick, he was going to fetch a doctor. My grandfather naturally came up with more excuses, but this just increased his uncle's suspicions. After they'd argued for a bit, the uncle pushed his way in and was confronted with a terrifying sight. A completely flat woman, face crudely smeared with rouge, blank eyes staring at the ceiling. When he realized what he was looking at, the uncle just about had a stroke. He died 3 days later. Some said of anger,